Good evening, John Arnold, and welcome to the show, Protect and Serve, where we try to inform you of the most current events, the situations in our community. Tonight, we are going to be talking about a couple of things that are affecting us in the community, namely the COVID pandemic and the issue of the uptick in crime, specifically that some will label and call as black on black crime. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about this of what black lives matter is and what it isn't. How it's going to fit with the movie. So, so welcome. So glad that you're here today on the show. We say it's been a crazy week. When we came into this little area because of the country, on the news, we hear about COVID pandemic, the opening of New Jersey, but not other states are going right back to where we began. And if those states go back to where we began, then New Jersey is also at the risk. We discuss everything that's going on about COVID. And this folks are trying to put out there the next two that's committed to their health, their dreams. So I'm going to bring on two of my investors. They've been with me for years, working well, working community for everyone. They are Detective Stephanie Fedra and Detective Anthony Trump. And they're going to be on the show with us with me as well. So what we want to do is bring them on at this time if they're there. I know they're backstage. All right, there they are, the dynamic duo. How's everybody doing this evening?
Hi, good evening. Welcome to our living room and peek into your house.
Listen, we have to be doing social distancing. We can't be coming in your living room. We're still in the midst of a pandemic. Hey, listen, we got a couple of things on tonight's show that we want to talk about. I want to talk about COVID first because a lot of our viewers, I don't know if you know or not, but I've lost about 8 friends to COVID. 8 friends. Tony, we shared one friend, Otis, and it's real. All right. I mean, I just want to have a heartfelt conversation for a second because the myth that this is all going to go away, it's going to, it's something that's going to pass. Let me just tell you, we are right now. I heard a report today that the federal stockpile is already down. It's already down because of the other states who have spiked. We don't have enough PPE. We're going to run into the same situation where we won't have enough ventilators. And what does that mean? It means that folks are going to die. I mean, it's a serious issue. So, New Jersey, we seem to have been one of the states who have done okay. Of course, the leadership here in New York, they went with the facts of the science, not of the politicians. And people of African American descent, we really are at high risk. We're at high risk. We have to really be careful. And, when you see young people, that are out there without masks on, listen, it's not that you could be asymptomatic. You might not have any signs of COVID. But the fact of the matter is that if you carry it and you bring it home to your family, to your child, your nieces, your nephews, your mother, your father, that's how it's passed on. And that's the educational piece that we have to let everyone know, and we have to stress. It's not about I'm going to be tested tomorrow and I have to be tested again and again because I work in healthcare. But the thing is that this is a serious issue. It in itself is affecting. It is an epidemic unique to us of African American descent because it's taking us out in great numbers. So all the stuff you see on TV, about it's going to pass and blow away. And you see how the leadership from the top, that's where it all begins, from the top, is trying to put it behind them as if it's over. And they never could be any wronger than they are right now. And I'm just saying to all of our viewers, listen, COVID is real. It's real. Not only for our health, but if we get another shutdown, listen, if we get another shutdown, we're going to be devastated. Those of us who have small businesses, those of us who support small businesses, if they have to shut down again, I don't think they will open up again at all. And that's my biggest fear. So please, please, people, wear your mask, practice social distance. It's a small thing. I mean, yes, it's an adjustment. It gets uncomfortable. I understand that. But guess what? Man, this is your survival we're talking about. And yes, we are preliminary. You know, our primary concern is your safety as far as law enforcement. But I'm not a law enforcement only. I'm a public safety type of person. You know, the whole total picture of bringing, protecting, and serving. And I found that first responders in healthcare are just as important as police officers on the street. You know, so I just had that. That's my little spiel. Because you know, I just, like I said, I lost 8 people. I don't want to lose any more. I don't want to lose any more friends to COVID. It's like the worst enemy ever. What's your thoughts on it?
I feel the same way you do. You know, you lose friends, loved ones, and it's sad. There's nothing you can do except to take care, make sure that you're healthy, you stay healthy, and you see people outside without, masks and they're walking around. You just look at them like, what's wrong with you? Some of them act like they don't know what's going on. So, what do you feel, Steph?
Well, I don't know if you can see this picture. Wait a minute. Okay, there's me and my cat. Embrace the face. That's all I can say. Embrace the face.
There you go. Look at that. Look at that. I ain't mad at you.
Okay.
Yeah, I lost you for a second, Tony. But Tony, you just came back from Florida. You know, my condolences to you again, to all our viewers. Tony just lost his mother not too long ago and had to take a trip down to Florida. But share your experience with what you experienced when you went down there.
Well, we drove, driving down each state. You know, when we stopped basically to get gas. You could tell those who were coming from, I guess, up north or who want to practice safety, go pump up gas. Some people from Virginia on down, they're walking around with no mask on, looking at you like, then they look at your plate, oh, they're from Jersey. And you're looking at them like, you're not wearing mask? Like, no. You know, from Virginia on down to Florida. And it's funny, once we hit Florida, the first weigh station, all cars were, you had the state police out there. You had to drive into the weigh station, fill out a form, where you're coming from, how long you plan on staying, the address you're staying, and what are you here for. Then they advise you, once if you're leaving, go back to your state, quarantine. So I did that anyway when we came back. Quarantine, when you got a test, negative. So, keep doing
thank
it.
God.
Oh, definitely. But even down in Florida, it's ridiculous. They're walking around like nothing. They're saying, oh, the hot weather will kill it. The hot weather's not killing it. There's 100 or something degrees each day down there.
That's the craziest thing, because in Mexico, where we were last year this time, it's hot. Africa, hot. Central America, hot. Brazil is hot, but Brazil has an infestation. It's not the hot weather. The thing that's going to stop this pandemic is us being smart and using common sense and listening to science, not politicians. It's not about politics. This is about us being smart and surviving this thing. This is an attack on us, and we have to understand that. So I heard a couple of things that were disturbing, that unlike the first part of the pandemic, more young people are dying now. Now, I don't know if our audience has seen how they ventilate, someone, but when you hear those words, when the doctor tells you that he has to put you on a ventilator, one, it's a painful process. They have to sedate you in order to properly ventilate you. And the reason why they sedate you and put you in a coma is because you might have the tendency to pull the ventilator out when you awake. It's very uncomfortable having something down your throat that's keeping you alive. And when you have that type of situation, the danger of that is that most people who are ventilated, they don't come out of it. And, people say, oh, the hospitals are trying to make money. They're reporting everything, COVID related. Okay, maybe some hospitals were doing that because they're smaller hospitals. They're trying to get money. Listen, money, the love of money is the root of all evil. We know that. But legitimately, and I'm saying because I watched the numbers, the patients that came in and had COVID and died of COVID were great. Those trailers were being filled up daily. I would come in, there would be 5 at night, and then in the morning when I come back, I mean, it'd be like 12 or 20. So, we don't want that again. And it was hard because you can't even send off your loved one the right way, the proper way. I mean, how many hours did you have in the funeral home, Tony, to say goodbye to your mother?
It's about 30 minutes.
30 minutes. Yeah. And then some you can't even go because if it's 10 people, that's the limit. And you can have 10 family
municipalities are different states are different.
Yeah.
So Florida allowed us 15 family members, but during the wait, they allow people coming in and out, and they would stop at 15. They would go disinfect and allow another, 15 during the wake.
Right.
The funeral just, that was it.
Yeah. One of the things that I see, and it just upsets me, is that a lot of the leadership, a lot of the governors are more loyal to the party and to a particular person than they are to the people who voted them into office. And that's a travesty. That's a travesty. We put people in office to make sure that things are done right, and that they're done with our best interest at heart. And to have people go into office and they're more loyal to someone in Washington than they are to the people who voted for them, that's a problem. That's a real problem. So to all our viewers, again, please let's stay safe. Let's be wise. I cannot stress it enough. We need you all to stress social distancing, wearing your mask, and making sure your hands are clean. More than normal, sanitizer, hand washing. And I'm going to tell you right now, be prepared, because if the second wave comes, which is expected to come, you're going to see the same shortages. Hand sanitizer, masks, all those things are going to be, hard to get. So, you should have a stockpile of your own. Now, that's something you should be doing, because right now the federal government, who should be stockpiling to help the states, they're running low. They don't even have a 30-day stockpile. And this thing has lasted what? We're into like July. It started in March, January, like 7 months. Wow. Yeah. So, so let's do that. Listen, I want to move on.
Wait, hold up. Gotta give big ups to the mayor Baraka, because he was on it. He was on it. He talked about it every day. He said, wear your mask. He wears his, and he don't look like what's his name? The Lone Ranger. He ain't wearing it on his eyeballs. But anyway,
he probably was wearing it on his eyeballs, because that's the kind of dude he is.
Who?
The guy down in Washington that said
hell yeah, but no, I'm saying Baraka, he stayed on it, and you can't do, and you saw the genuine compassion and feeling love for the people of this city that he did put out, like he put it out, and I'm glad he did, and he kept it 100. He kept it fun, he kept it easy, he kept it clear, understanding, and I had to give him big ups for that. So
hey, listen, props to Mayor Baraka, because he was doing the thing. Folks were in the city the size of Newark. Unfortunately, he did lose a lot of his residents, but the number could have been much more and much greater had he not given those briefs. And they were watched across the nation, not just Newark. People across the nation were watching his briefs because he was on point. When you have a love for the people, you're driven to do things like that. You have a genuine concern for the people, and that's who we have to put in office to watch over us. Those who who love us. You don't want to put somebody in there that doesn't love you, because they're not going to treat you right. And that's what we have. That's the whole thing. That's a whole other show, voting the line and all. You got to be careful with that, because sometimes folks on there, they don't care anything about you, but they just got the spot because someone endorsed them or a party endorsed them. So we have to be very selective and educated when it comes to voting. So some of our viewers, I see Karen Daniels is on. She said she can't get a can of Lysol now. Yes, that's true. You cannot get Lysol.
Yep.
You cannot get Lysol because it is like it is hard to get. And when the folks in the store, when it comes into the store, they're taking it for themselves. Hey, listen, we all did that. Come on, you know what the deal is.
Use some Listerine, the yellow one. Where's those germs coming from anyway? Out your mouth.
Listen,
Listerine. That's a guy the CDC said.
What did our parents use? What did they take? Geritol and castor oil killed everything. so the old folks they knew. We said we posted today to have a discussion about crime. There's an uptick of crime throughout the nation. Not any particular city, not any particular state, but across the nation. There's an uptick of crime. I want to talk about the uptick of crime, some of the reasons. I want to talk about the black on black crime that people throw in our face when whenever you say Black Lives Matter, folks like to say, well, what about the black on black crime? And, all lives matter. We had some individual come on earlier talk about all lives matter. Yeah, we know, but where was all lives matter in 1816 when black lives were being, snubbed out? Where was all lives matter when George Floyd got killed on national TV during this pandemic in 2020? So don't come and tell me all lives matter, but that's a cop out. Black Lives Matter does not mean that only Black Lives Matter, but we're screaming for years that, listen, if you're going to say all lives matter, then you should be upset that your black brother and sister are suffering death in disproportionate numbers. So please do not say all lives matter on the live feed, because we're gonna educate you a little bit tonight. That's what we plan on doing, because we're a little tired of hearing it when we are trying to make a point and trying to make a statement. It's not that we feel that we're better or that we want to be empowered over you. No, we just want a seat at the table. We just want to stop having our lives killed by police brutality and the crime that's in our community. I mean, that's my thought. So let's get at it. All right, let's talk about this. Crime is up across the nation. I heard that it's up to almost like an 87% of crime throughout the nation. We know that right here in Jersey, that crime is up. Shootings are up. Even if overall crime is down, shootings are up. And what I want to do is talk about that tonight. I want to talk about, as for our viewers, what are some of the reasons that you, in your expert opinion, feel that crime is up in our communities? Because the crime stats show that 85 to 100% of the victims are Black and minorities. Now, this is crime in our community. And I don't want to just say, it's put it in a box and say it's Black on Black crime, because if you were in an Indian community, your chances of getting killed in the Indian community is by another person who is an Indian. In the white community, they have deaths and they have homicides as well. If you look at the uniform crime report, you'll see that white people kill white people more than Blacks kill white people. It's just in our community that we have whites killing us who are in power as police officers. And we also have some of our own brothers out here, brothers and sisters, who are committing crimes against us. And sometimes some of these crimes are murders. Different reasons, different situations, but nevertheless, this is happening in our community. So, well, what are some of the thoughts? What are some of the thoughts on the uptick in crime that we're experiencing right now?
When I feel good majority of the crimes are not committed by adults, being committed by juveniles, and also not all male juveniles. You got a lot of females out here committing crimes also. May just because they have on a hoodie or they doing something, 9 times out of 10, commit a crime. You think it's a male doing it. Some females out here that are rough too, but a lot of juveniles are committing crimes that they get away with.
Well, it's a breakdown in the family as far as with the juveniles, why they're so much off the hook. Because you got a lot of parents that's even trying to, or people that's co-parenting, they're competing with their own kids for the streets.
Yep.
And then you got to look at the juvenile justice system also with the juvenile detention centers. Now we got a big problem. I don't know how many of you guys may know, but at some point, a few years back, Passaic County shut down their juvenile facility. So where did they send their kids? Essex County. All right. So then, just maybe a year or so ago, Hudson County and Union County, I think close at the same time, shut down their juvenile facility. Take a guess where they sent them.
Essex County.
Essex. Yep. Okay, and where's the juvenile detention center located in Essex County?
Newark.
Ding, 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 ding. Yes. So now you got all these kids all group up together, and eventually some of them gonna get out. So guess where a lot of them are, with all the crime, all the shootings that's going on in Patterson, it may not necessarily be all Patterson residents. Some of these kids are up there, just like a lot of people from Patterson has been arrested in Newark. And we found that after they made their transition from those juvenile facilities. So that's crazy. And just, between me and you, y'all, and everybody else that's listening, they done sent people from New York to these juvenile facilities. You talk about MS-13s, you talk about 18th Street. I mean, these real violent gangs. I just saw the 18, what's it, Barr? He up there talking about the death penalty for this new, for one of those murders that was committed by MS-13s over there in New York from those high school kids. But the juveniles, we really got to embrace our children and see what's going on with that.
Well, why is it that Essex County has become the place for all these other centers to bring in, their juvenile offenders?
Okay, why is it that when people that live way out in some of these towns that you got to go miles and miles up these highways, that they bring their garbage down and dump it in Newark?
Okay. But I also understand that for every juvenile offender, the county of Essex gets money for every juvenile offender. And not only is Essex County Youth House a detainment center for other counties, but also the Essex County Jail.
Yeah.
Now, my problem as a law enforcement, my opinion from law enforcement and as a law enforcement expert is that when you mix those groups together, that's a nightmare. That's a catastrophe waiting to happen. Because what we found was we started seeing an uptick in murders from kids outside of Essex County. And it was one of the things that they were trying. They actually, listen, we cannot never underestimate, your opponent. Never underestimate the criminal element. They are wise. So if I'm from Passaic and I meet you in the Essex County Youth Detention Center, and now all of a sudden you got beef with somebody, you can't do anything in Essex because everybody knows you, but I can. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that we found, that they were employing juveniles from other towns, other counties, to do their crime in Newark, in Essex County, not Newark, but Essex County, because that included East Orange and Irvington. Matter of fact, one of the crime scenes in East Orange, it was reports that the individuals were filming the shooting as they did the shooting on some rival drug dealers in the area.
Mhm.
And when we started to look into the cases, why they were filming, because they wanted to report back to the people who hired them that they had done the job. And so we can't, and let me just say this about the juveniles. We have to, when it's easier for a juvenile to get a gun than it is to get a job application, that's a problem. That's a problem. And when we don't have, one of the things with COVID, all right, the schools are closed down, the rec centers are closed down. You have no places for these juvenile movie theaters. You have no places for these juveniles to go. They used to be able to escape the criminal element in their neighborhoods, but now the criminal element, they have prime picking for who they want, because what are these kids going to do? They're not even in school during the day. Normally, they can be in school. When I went to Westside High School, I was principal for the day one day, and some of the kids in the school, they said this was their safe haven. They dreaded 3 o'clock when they had to go home, because they had to walk through the neighborhoods of rival gang dealers and drug dealers and all this kind of stuff. So it's we really collectively, we have to come together and say, how are we going to change this dynamic in our community?
And basically, a lot of the kids, what they're doing, they're used to playing video games all the time. Now they're taking that video games like Grand Theft Auto. They're taking that to the streets now in real life. Like when me and Steph used to do, presentations, we used to tell them, you can press that reset button to start that game over. But now in real life, something happens, no reset button.
Right.
One time to do it. But they're taking what they see on TV, video games, taking it into the streets. And like one of the viewers also said, some parents are afraid of their kids.
Yes, definitely. Yes,
that's true.
That's
some
true.
are being raised by grandparents, great grandparents. Like Steph said, they're competing with their own kids for certain things. Some of the kids are paying the bills in the house. So how you gonna tell a kid he's paying your cell phone bill, or it's in his name, and they know it? So I mean, there's a lot of factors towards what's going on. And how you gonna tell somebody, be in the house by when it gets dark? Kids not taking that nowadays.
Listen. So first of all, it used to be, they used to tell us when the street lights came on, you couldn't be out there when it was dark. Street lights come on first, and then it got dark. But now, some of the neighborhoods we used to experience, we used to go out when we did our community walks. The street lights weren't even there; they weren't working. So you can't even tell the kids that, because that technically is when they should be inside the house, not when it got dark. I know that's how it was at John Arnold's house.
That was done by design. Those lights, they was putting them lights out.
Exactly.
Hit them at the base, to go off.
So all right, so we know juveniles are committing a lot of the crimes, and of course the uptick is up with juvenile crime. But also, I found something very interesting. I found out that one of the other reasons that the NYPD reported crimes being up is because of recidivism. They said that their stats report that 1,452 released prisoners have been rearrested for felony crimes, and that this number is up 771 from last year. Now, they're saying the reason on their end is because the courts are not fully operational. So there's no indictments, there are no prosecutions, there's no court appearances for crimes. The criminals, the ones who are arrested, the offenders are being released. ROR on gun charges. ROR on gun charges. And that the gun charges are where 95 to 100% of the victims are Black or minority. That's an issue. So a lot that is going on. The pandemic is all related because, it's affecting the way we do crime. We fight crime. It's keeping a lot of places closed that normally, if you were arrested, you would appear before the judge. And also, they've been releasing prisoners. And let's face it, there's no jobs. Millions of New Jerseyans don't have jobs and have not received unemployment. And you can't, the number one thing of nature for any animal is self-preservation. So when there's no jobs, and that's one of the things that we were, law enforcement is in the community is big on and trying to deter crime. If that's not even happening, where now people are being released from prison and can't get a job, what do you think they're going to do? I mean, they're going to take care of they're going to take care of themselves. They're going to take care of their family. My daughter told me about an instance where it was a man in Bloomfield, man of color, black man, who was in a restaurant, and they have a big homeless population in Bloomfield, and he was hungry. And what he did was listen, man, he grabbed some food and he started eating it, and he didn't care. He didn't care because he was just that fed up. I mean, come on. I mean, I'm gonna tell you right now, if the shoe was on my foot, yeah, I might not have done it like him. But if I'm hungry, besides eating squirrels and some pigeons and stuff like that, yeah, I probably might have wanted a burger or something like that. And you never know what you're forced to do. So this is something that is exasperated by the pandemic. It's always been an issue in our community. Granted, it's been an issue, way beyond. We've been dealing with this issue long. That's when we were on the job. But now it seems to be exasperated by the COVID pandemic. And there's some other reasons. I think we talked about, Steph, about the high number of police officers leaving the job. I mean, you want to share with what we discussed about that?
Yeah, well, I can't say how many numbers because I just don't do numbers because they're never really correct, and I wasn't no great math person, but I still can. But anyway, yeah, a lot of the guys are now leaving the job. As far as police officers, they're leaving the job. They're leaving because of the incident, what happened that sparked the whole Black Lives Matter. Some of them left because they feel like some of the perks didn't get, they're just treated correctly. But then some of them totally did not agree with how things were done and the things that's done to, just our citizens. And they left because of that. Now, well, we're going to have a problem. That's shortening our list of police officers that, we're going to be needing now. My question right now is, would any of you out there even consider trying to get a job as a police officer? That's a question I would like to know. Yeah. And let me just say this. When I took this job as a police officer, actually the application was handed to me when I was in church one Sunday. And right, Reggie? And I went on and I filled it out. But then I said, if God had me do this, then I went in for a reason. I wasn't one out there beating up people, we were working with kids. My partner, Sonji Powell, she was, strong. She got those Michelle Obama shoulders and arms and stuff. I mean, we were good, but we were compassionate. And we went in there and we said, well, we was going to change this. We were able to do a lot of things and make a lot of changes, but at some point, I guess it just got too good, and we almost got our somebody's foot put on our neck. But we made it through. But yeah, so the other thing is a lot of these officers that's retiring or trying to leave the job or resigning, they're trying to go out sick, and a lot of them aren't going to be able to. They're not going to give you 2/3 to go out. You're going to have a hard time. You're going to lose your house. You're going to lose your family. You're going to lose your cars. You're going to lose everything. Mm-hmm. And then who's going to answer those phone calls when you have the issue? Right. So, but they're leaving. I'm done. 30 years, I'm out. But I'm still working.
Congratulations. Well, we thank you for your service and thank you that you're continuing your service. Tony, you didn't have a fall, did you?
No, I didn't fall.
but it's important. I think I don't know about today's cops, but I know that I can speak for myself and most of my generation. When we came on the job, we wanted to make a change. We were from the community. We wanted to affect the change. We wanted to protect our communities. You know, it was a good thing. A couple of detectives that I know, Brother Keith Shepard is one that you work with. He tells the story all the time. He said that he saw me driving around in the community, and it inspired him to become a police officer, and he became one of the best police officers nationwide throughout the nation. And you know what we try to do is we have to try to instill in our younger generation. Listen, this is your community. If you really want to make change, you know, you should be policing your community. You should be out here, you know, not just criticizing. Don't just talk about it. Be about it. You know. Yes, we have. We have. Do we have? First of all, we must admit to ourselves that we have serious problems in law enforcement and the way they interact and the way they serve the community. Serious problems. I mean, we have some folks that should not even be on the job. And I believe that the police reform that's getting ready to come down is chasing a lot of people away. I think they see I think a lot of the cops who are engaged in systemic racist practices see the writing on the wall and the wave that the Black Lives Matter has forced into society right now. And I think that they know that they are no longer going to be able to get away with the things that they were doing, which were under the radar, as we say. Because it's been now they know the community knows what to look for. I remember when we came to Newark in 2014, Newark had a lot of officers leave. And the reason why, because Mayor Baraka was a staunch advocate. He was an activist. And he knew what was going on in there, because a lot of the officers used to rob a lot of the drug dealers and stuff in Newark. And he knew that they knew that when he got there, he was going to put foot to behind, which is what he said he was going to do. He made no qualms about it. And guess what? So when we got there, yes, all the stuff that had happened before the consent decree, that stuff, a lot of those folks who caused the consent decree to be there, they left as soon as he raised his hand and took office. And that's what always happens. That's the bad point. If we don't act on police reform right now, if we don't maximize the moment of Black Lives Matter and get some serious police reform, we are constantly going to be at a disadvantage. All the citizens in any town that has a federal monitor, that town has to pay that federal monitor millions of dollars. And if we're struggling already, you have to, where's your city budget? Where is it in your city budget now that you're going to take those millions of dollars, right? So now essential services are going to be cut to pay this federal monitor who has to be there for 5 to 7 years. Programs are going to be cut. So we have to make sure that now, especially with the climate in Washington, where this individual down there does not care about the fact that police are killing Black people in his country on his watch, where his answer to that is, well, white people are being killed by cops too. Really? And then not only to say that, because he says everything twice, as if you didn't hear him the first time. He says he had the audacity to say more white people. Well, I like to see that. I haven't seen that. I have not seen that. I've only seen the only people I've seen suffer a travesty of justice and be killed are Black people. So on this show, we are talking about that. And one of the things we have to understand is that with these police, everyone's talking about defund the police. Defund the police. Okay, there's so many different definitions of what that means. I have my own view, and I think what they're saying is we allocate funds, because if you defund the police, what's going to happen is you're getting rid of police officers, because 97% of the budget from the police department is for personnel and benefits and stuff like that. All the stuff that you see them driving around in cars and all that stuff, riot gear, all that comes from federal money. That comes from grants. Like small towns, they join together. They all apply for a grant. I'm driving around. I see all these brand new police cars. I say, well, how can you do that? Your town looks like this. It's not money that the city is paying for. It's money that came through federal grants that allowed them to go out and buy all new cars and computers and all that kind of stuff. So we have to engage that. We have to understand what we're saying. We're saying defund the police department. You have to understand what you're saying. Now, reallocating money from the city budget to do essential services and social services, no problem. Definitely. Police officers and police departments cannot solve the problems in our community by themselves. That's why we believe in a combination of clergy, cops, and community to come together, and essential services even now to come together and then bring together a best practices for crime reduction in our community. Because we've been yelling this for the longest time. Before I became a police officer, we were talking about this. We were talking about crime in our communities, and nobody's really doing anything. So I think now is a perfect opportunity with the Black Lives Matter movement, to the momentum that they have to push us into a new era of police reform.
Well, do you think that maybe the whole defunding the police is part of the problem with the spike in the shootings and the murders?
Well, it's funny. I'm glad you brought that up, because some of the part of what police departments are doing is they're taking money away from overtime that they normally pay their officers. They're taking money away from specialized units, and I think for from a public safety standpoint, you don't defund during a surge of crime. You don't defund during a pandemic, because you need officers to be on overtime. You need full manpower. The reason I say that is because most police departments, their officers got hit hard with COVID. So now if you have 20 officers out, you have let's say you have a department the size of 100, 20 officers are out on COVID, and now you're reducing your reduction number. You reduced it by 20 officers. So now here it is. You have less officers than you need to do the job for that particular town. The number of officers is determined by the size of a town or a city. And they figure out how many officers we need to fight crime and keep the community safe. So now when you take away from that, that means that somebody who needs a police service or a service call will not get it. That means that a police response that would normally take 2 to 3 minutes or 5 minutes is now going to take 15 to 20. What we'll see is when we went back to Newark, where you were a victim of a crime and you called the Newark Police Department and made the report. And Stephanie, this is probably when you was on the job in Newark, that you got a call in the line and you got there 12 hours later for a burglary call. And the people are mad at you because they're exposed to danger. But the thing is, that's in the queue. It took so long, but you had nothing to do with that. That's how many calls to service you had.
Right.
So if you don't have enough people to man the call to service, you have to be careful. When we talk about reallocating money and defunding police department, let's be clear. Some people are saying disband it. I'm not for disbanding, because you know what? You need some type of you need police protection. You need police services. You need that. And you need to make sure that when you are talking about defunding, it's not addressing all the issues. Defunding by itself is not solving all the issues that they have in the police department. You have to make sure that if you want your officers to like cultural diversity, okay, that costs. You got to have money for training. You just can't take the money out. You got to have these officers trained. So I like what the Democrats have put on the floor for their Crime Fighting Policing Act, and I pray that the Senate passes it, because what they're calling for is for the United States government to fund training for police officers, to fund special prosecution of corrupt police officers, to fund the things that like operational stress management and those things, to fund better training as far as administration and equipment. If you can fund military tanks, armor, rubber bullets, gas grenades as a result of the 67 riots and do it in 1 year in 68, you can fund the changes that we are asking for in our community to live better and safer and to feel safer than those that we hired to protect and serve us. You can't tell me that you, the richest country in the world, can't address this issue, that you can't pass this law and make it happen. So you need to be on the phone. You need to be in the voting booth. You need to be doing everything you can to make everything happen that will change this dynamic. We have to use the momentum of this to make sure that we bring about the change that we've been complaining about and yelling about at the top of our voices for years. That's what I feel needs to be done. Now I'm on my soapbox, so y'all listen. That I didn't have this.
I agree with you.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, see, the public doesn't know that, and nobody's telling them that, and I think that's a disadvantage. We have an obligation to tell those who we serve, how to get around it. As black officers exposed to the system and in the system. If you sitting there and you're not saying nothing about what's going on and about you're part of the problem. Mm-hmm. You are part of the problem. If you come to a scene and you see them beating up a brother or a sister or anybody that's handcuffed, and you allowing it to go down, you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. And you already know my tirade. I already went off and put a post on there because I didn't do that, and I don't expect the people I work with to do that. So I'm just saying, when we talk about black on black crime, that's another poke at why there's so much crime in the black community. There's so much frustration in the black community. There's so much, we're carrying so much in the black community that these young people have no outlet. I mean, you think about the times when we got so mad that we need to go punch something. They it's frustrating when you talk to them, when you interview them and ask them why they did what they did. They don't feel that there's any hope. They don't feel that anyone cares for them. They can't get a job. Right? The American dream is not in their purview. They don't think that they're ever going to be measure up to what it takes to achieve anything. And when I look at our young people, I see so much potential. I say, man, if you just change your way, you don't have to get in that car with those jokers, man. That's going to go out there and do that robbery, do that shooting, and that's the thing. So we have to make sure that we do everything we can on this show. That's the purpose of this show, is to make sure that we address the issue and bring the issues out. I like the fact that you brought out about the juveniles. I just want to go back to that for a second, because when we being with the juveniles, even there is it's like, it's not fair. There's the things that the inner city youth, when they get locked up, and Steph, you might know this. You might know the name of the program, but if someone commits a crime in the suburbs, it's like a diversion program. What happens is, if a young person in West Orange commits a crime in West Orange, my question is, why is it that he never sees the Essex County Youth House? Same crime, got caught with weed, right? Or drugs, because drugs are in the suburbs, believe me. All right. All you gotta do is go down Johnson Avenue North. You see folks that don't look like us down there, and he's saying, "What you doing down here?" You know what they're doing down there. And they go back up to West Orange. They're caught in West Orange, but they never see the Essex County Youth House.
That may deal with the intake officer also for the juvenile system. So the juvenile does a crime, you have to call the youth house, speak to an intake officer, tell them exactly what happened. They make that determination on what happens. So that out of the police officer's hand. So
viewers, listen. It's not only the police. Brother Anthony told you it's the intake officers. We want fairness and equality. If Raheem gets locked up for 2 grams of weed, or 10 nickel bags of weed in Newark, and Simon gets locked up for the same amount in the suburbs, if you're not gonna put Simon in the Essex County Youth House, don't put Raheem in there. All
But
right.
he also may have something called
Get a
station house
standard.
adjustment. Also,
What's that?
John?
I'm
They
sorry.
also sometimes have something, depends on what the incident is, a station house adjustment. It's where they, bring the parents in, they discuss what's going on. They do an in-house adjustment at the police station. So it's several things that they have in place instead of bringing someone to the youth house. And then it depends on whether there's a space.
Right. Yeah, I understand. I know. I remember, locking up juveniles for car theft, and before I finished the paperwork, they're walking out the door. They say, "All right, see you later, Arnold." I'm like, "Where you going?" Say they got released, and I said, "All right, I'll see you again. I'll see you out there." But the thing is that we want like a matrix. All right, let's be fair. Listen. I don't really want to see young kids get incarcerated for crimes, unless it's very heinous. But listen, I did stupid stuff. All right, let's just be real. There's some things I maybe should have been in the youth house for. And the thing is that listen, you gotta. What a station house adjustment for me, because they would call my dad. I knew about it. They say, "Hey, Detective Arnold, your son is in here." Man, you would never want to listen. You were like, "No, lock me up, put me in the big man jail. I don't want to be in the U house because he'll come and get me." So all we're looking for is fairness. That's all we're looking for. And Crystal Burrows made a point. She said, the intake officer will send the West Orange juvenile to a diversion program, and the Newark juvenile goes to the youth house. We as officers have seen this over and over again. Yes, we have. I'm with you, Crystal. I understand that, because when we worked the auto theft task force, for the few times that we worked up in the suburbs, we did not see those individuals go to the youth house. And we did the same amount of paperwork, same amount of crime, receiving stolen property. But like you said, they hit a diversion program, and yet we had young people who just went for a joyride. First time out. Good kids, good grades in school, but you know what? Nothing to do. Got in the car, went on a joyride, got caught by the police, sitting in the youth house. And that's the type of issues that a matrix, in reform would change. That would cut down on black crime or in crime in our community, because now you haven't messed up the kid. There was a brother that I saw on Instagram. Yes, we're gonna bring Crystal's Burrow's question up again. Let's do that real quick. Let's bring that question that was just up there. So, can we address how defunding the police department does not correct the racism and sexism in police departments? Yes, you're absolutely right, and I agree. Defunding the police department does not do that. It will take away from that. It will take away from the indicators that we have in police departments to deal with those type of systems. There are programs that I believe are coming into play now. That when a police officer, one of the proposals that is a bill that's getting ready to hit the legislature that we reviewed, was one that there's going to be a database. Whenever you hear database, whenever you hear data collection, you're talking about money. And it's about diversity. There's about how many stops that these officers do. Basically, a database to monitor the activities of police officers to make sure that they're not guilty of implicit bias. And one of the things that defunding does is takes away the ability for the police department to have those or put those things into place in the department, which not only guarantees integrity in the department, but also in the community. So we got to be very careful when we talk about defunding. We have to really sit down and have a conversation. This is not going to be something that we're just going to throw it out there and be a knee-jerk reaction because we're being swayed by political pressure. No, we don't want that. We want something that you're not going to throw it on the wall, see if it sticks. We want something that's going to be mounted to the wall, that's going to stand there forever. Some real serious reform, some real serious changes. That's what we want. So yes, thank you for that question. Thank you for that question, Kristen. So we're about to come to a close. We're about to wrap it up.
Hold
But
up, Cap. I mean, oh, you know what? I still call you Captain because when I first started working with you, you were Captain. Okay, Deputy Director, whatever. But can we just address this because you know my heart is just really like broken because of these babies getting killed behind the innocent bystanders. You you can't have a cookout and people running through all over up and down the street just shooting just randomly, and everybody that's getting murdered had nothing to do with it and don't even know these people. So I mean, the parents, the moms, the dads, the aunts, everybody. I mean, could you just say something to them because I just have no words.
it's hard to find words, because that's a territory I haven't been in, and my heart goes out to those who are there right now or have been there. It's not natural for a parent to bury their child, whether it be naturally or by violence in the community that they live in. We in the black community, we have to do one thing. We have to be honest with ourselves. We don't like the term black on black crime. I understand that. Crime is crime. But a lot of what's going on, a lot of the people that I had to counsel, a lot of the people that I had to bury, they weren't killed by the police. They were killed by young black men, either intentionally or accidentally. And the culture in our community, and I understand there's a distrust for the police. Granted, I understand that. But the problem is that a lot of us, you know, we can do better. There's things that we can do in our community to make sure that it becomes safer. We need to be on top of it. One thing that I say when I go to West Orange, you know why West Orange is so when you go through their crime rate is so low? Because they don't wait till it becomes a problem. They demand that their police department responds to their complaints. And to the parents that lost, young ones lost their children to violence in our communities. As I said, Stephanie said it right. There's really nothing that you can say. That pain.
Words.
Just think about the pain when you lose a loved one, when you lose a parent, someone that's close to you. To lose your child, there's so many mixed emotions. I'm gonna tell you, I am sane as I stand before you today. But if, to be honest with you, the human factor in me of losing a child to something like that, I don't know how I would respond to that. I just don't. I just don't know what it's like to be there. So the reason why we do things like this show, the reason why we still continue to work in law enforcement after we retire, we paid our dues, and after we retired, is because we see things that hurt us. The reason why we got into law enforcement is not to be over people or exert our power over someone, but it's to help them. That's most police officers have a servant's heart. That's why they do that. That's why they're up in storms, and that's why they're out there, doing these type of things for the people. Because I just believe that God has given the world some people who are servants, and they fulfill their destiny by working in law enforcement. So my heart, I know some close friends that lost their children to gun violence, and still in awe. One of them in particular, she just calls me every once in a while. She said, I just had a spell. I just started um, breaking down and stuff like that, because this was her baby. She carried the baby for 9 months and nurtured her for 20 something years. And then, two juveniles took his life over something really stupid. So my heart goes out, and as long as I have breath in my body, I'm going to be committed. I'm going to be a voice. I'm going to speak out about things. Yes, I'm a little controversial. Yes, but I don't care. That's just how it is. People who know me know that this is how I am, and I'm going to continue to be that. That's how my father was. That's how his father was. I know no other way. I know no other way except to be committed to the folks who are out there in the community. So that's what I would say, if and what I do say when I counsel people, and especially parents who have lost loved ones. I just want to get to one question. There was a question by Roderick T. Judd. Roderick asked a question. He said, "Why is Black Lives Matter classified as a hate group by the president, but the KKK is okay?" All right. Who want to go first?
No, I ain't got nothing to say. I know Roderick.
Listen, Roderick, that's a good question.
Yeah,
that's a good question, and we need to answer it in November when we go to the polls and send him this. If he feels that the Black Lives Matter movement, that people crying out against an injustice that is being carried out against them by the hands, systemically, by the hands of white supremacists, that there's nothing wrong with that. That white supremacist mentality. You don't even have to be a white supremacist, but if you possess the white supremacist mentality, you're just as guilty. And he feels that the KKK, there's good people on both sides. No, Mr. President, there's not good people in the KKK. Read their history. Oh, you know their history. You know their history. You know their history very well because you partook of it. And your father partook of it. So, we're not on here to become be political. I try not to bring that on the show. But the truth is the truth, and we have to be real. And Black folks talking about, what President Biden did back before. Okay, what did you do several years ago? All right, really think, and make sure that you hold these politicians accountable. All right, you look at, it's like, what poison are you going to drink? That's what it is. You have to make that decision. I'm not endorsing any particular candidate, but I'm just telling you. Make an informed decision. There's a lot on the line. There's a lot at stake right now. We are killing each other over stupid stuff in our communities because we can't breathe. We can't breathe in our community, and we're crying out. So you have to make sure the only way you're going to have to breathe, you got to fight. If you're drowning, what do? You don't try to, stay in the water and just go. Not me. They say most people, they're fighting while they're drowning. We can't relax yet. We're not there yet. We have to keep fighting. Listen, my shirt. All right, come on, because that's where we're at. All right. So, Roger, thank you for that. And again, you got to get to the point. You got to get to the. Listen, Crystal hit it on the head. Vote. We can change situations in our community. I know that we don't really believe it. People tell us negatively because they don't want you to come out there and vote, because they don't want you to change. But if we can put a Black president in the White House, not once but twice, we can be a world changer. We can change the world. So, on tonight, so I want to thank my guest, Steph. There you go, Steph. In every color she got. Every language. Vota. Votes. Listen, do that. All right. And listen, and for the rest of this week, listen, we pray that you have a great week. We hope that we brought something substantial to you. We hope that we brought some clarification from our thoughts and our experiences to you. And we will continue to do so as much as it takes, because we really care about you. This is what we came on the job to protect and serve. We believe in the mantra of protecting and serving. And I believe that there are good officers out there who want to protect and serve. And where there are officers who do not want to protect and serve, we will deal with them. But we thank Black Lives Matter for their support and for their courageousness, for speaking out. We thank all of those groups that are actively out there, sacrificing their time, their effort, their money, being locked up to make protests. We thank you all for that, because that's what's needed to make the change. So I'm John Arnold from Protect and Serve. You have Steffi there, Detective Steffi Treadwell, Detective Anthony Cox. To all of our viewers, yes, Reggie, we do. We have to take the Senate. We will take the Senate. I believe it. So we want to just say thank you for joining us tonight, and we will see you next week at 6 p.m. on Protect and Serve. Have a good night. I'm John Arnold. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.